Hello and welcome to another edition of Up the Pilgrims, the podcast of Boston United of the National League. I am joined once again by Stedders and by David. Hello guys, how are you doing?
Yeah, right, thank you.
How
Yeah,
you
very
doing,
well, Dave.
David? Yep.
Very, very
Hope
well.
you had a nice holiday, David, and
Yeah,
you're
I did.
back down to
I
earth.
did. I am back with you guys now. Happy to be back, but I was enjoying my time in Madeira. But I obviously heard the news that Culverhouse and Bazawa and Joe Simpson were all sacked just before I got on the plane, so I couldn't join you guys for the last podcast. So you guys took the reins for this one, but I'm back and I'm ready to share my views again on the latest episode of the Up the Pilgrims Boston United podcast.
Fantastic. And of course you weren't here for the last one, so we gave our views, but what were your views on the sacking? Do you think it was the right decision at the time?
Well, I think on Twitter and on social media, I was a Cully supporter. There was it it was going so well, and they sort of led me down a little track. Effectively, the management team. I thought there was positives there. I could see positives coming out of it, and you can let's face it, the results weren't as good as we were hoping, but there was positives in the performance. I always like effort, and like most of the fans, I'd say it's probably seen across the whole fan base. I'd probably looked too far into the light effectively and not focused on what's in front of me in the dire situation that we were in. And what was it? One win in 16 or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
They're going to get sacked anyway. And no, we've got a replacement in, haven't we?
That's it, exactly. But just quickly going back, do you think the decision was possibly made after the Gainsborough game and they were just holding on for the 2-week break? Or do you think it was, it was a quick reaction from the chairman?
I could see it being made in the Gainsborough game. It was me and George on commentary for this on Endeavour FM, and I was absolutely gobsmacked. I did not know what to say. It was one of the poorest Boston United performances I've seen in all my time watching them effectively. And I say that was probably the catalyst, the final nail in the coffin for Culverhouse. And obviously just I'd say it's probably a good recruitment strategy and a way to save a bit of time and not have a game in the break that we had, obviously, because we exited the FA Cup. And when they got sacked in there, did take a little longer than we thought, or than I thought, to get a new manager in. But if that time was used wisely and we stay up because of our extensive recruitment, and because of it at the end of the season, it's a good shout, and it's a good strategy to employ.
Definitely, it is. And going on to the new recruit, we've, as I say, yeah, Boston United have got a new manager. And if you're a Boston fan, unless you've been hiding under a stone today, you probably heard, Graham Coughlan is the new manager. I have to admit myself, when I did see the name come up this morning, I kind of looked at it. I saw the picture of him shaking hands and I thought, oh, it's a new director. And then I suddenly clicked, oh no, new manager. So didn't know too much about him this morning, if I'm being honest. But I've looked into him today. But Stedders, what do you think about the appointment?
Yeah, I think it's one that nobody predicted, to be honest with you. I think up and down all the forums and the posts and the Facebook pages and wherever you've been reading on X, Twitter, wherever it is, I can't see anybody going back mentioning this guy's name. So yeah, it's completely left field, really, isn't it? We looked at Neil Hardley, didn't we? We looked at other people as well that could possibly in the frame, and we all expected that. We tried making links with the Billy Chadwick signing to York and things like that. Tried putting a few things together, and then this random guy from Ireland all of a sudden is shaking hands with David on a picture at 10 o'clock this morning as released. Yes, you can see, can't you? This guy's got Football League pedigree, hasn't he, in terms of management? So he's done some good jobs, hasn't he, wherever he's been, and kept the likes of Bristol Rovers and Newport up before into the league. So we have to respect that, don't we? Of course, we're not going to be shouting his name out because we don't know who he is, but that doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing, does it? I think it's quite a shrewd appointment, to be honest with you, and I will mention it because the other radio station that also does Boston United did a very good interview with him, didn't they?
Yes,
on the
they did. They
did. They put it out for everybody. And what I loved about it was infectious kind of like admiration already for the fans. You know, it was all about the fans and the people. He didn't really speak about his players much. He didn't really speak about his staff much. He spoke more about the fans than anything else in the whole 11-minute interview, which I found very refreshing. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, no. And he also equally, if you look at his photo behind me, he does also look like somebody, if he gets angry, you won't want to be on the wrong side of him. So, you know, but no, I think it's a good appointment. I think, you know, it isn't the name that everybody expected, but like I say, will we care if he gets us to stay up by 1 point on the last of the season? We'll be shouting his names from the rooftops, won't we? So yeah, they've given this guy a go. Let's back him. Let's get behind him. Let's do exactly what he says. He says we've all got to be behind him, players, staff, fans. Let's do exactly that. Starting on Saturday with Braintree, and give him his fair crack of the whip and give him a go. There's got to be a reason why he's keeping these teams up, isn't there?
Exactly. And David, how did you take the appointment when you saw it?
Well, I didn't actually, same as you guys, and most of the other fans, I didn't actually, his name didn't come up on the radar. And I was looking through social media and stuff, and it seems like he's quite a firefighter. He comes in, he's a big Sam character. He comes in and keeps teams up. So maybe not an appointment for the long term, but if the way of football and this play style gets results and can keep Boston in the National League, I don't think anybody will care. To be honest with you, we're probably going to be looking at a more direct style of play, a lot longer, which will favour some of the taller and more physical, experienced players in the team at the moment. But we have a very inexperienced team. I expect there to be a little bit of a player turnover soon. Hopefully we can get a few players that are struggling at the moment with form, especially I just have to say there's a few players right now, Dan Mooney, Adam Marriott, who are not performing to expectations. It was at Woking, I was listening on the radio, something I didn't see it, but there was a long conversation between Mooney and Woods at the end of the game, and it didn't look like Woods was very happy, or that's what I made of it. So I'd expect to see him to bring in some players, you know, maybe with some Irish links. He's got good links in the Football League, but to keep Boston in the National League, we're going to need some really, really experienced players to come in and get started straight away, because we're I believe we're 5 points or 6 points now off of relegation safety. We need to start picking up points, and then we have a crucial 6-pointer, as you call it, against Braintree on Saturday. But yeah, on the appointment, I didn't really see it coming, but I'm quite content with it, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's quite a good appointment for the level that we're at and what we need right now.
Yeah, I mean, just having a look at his managerial career, he spent some time at Bristol Rovers, some more time at Mansfield Town, Sheffield United under-23s he was at, Newport County was his most recent team, which he left not too long ago, and then now obviously he's at Boston United. So, you know, he's been sort of around for a few different clubs. Obviously, he's played a lot. He's in his senior career, he made 461 appearances for quite a few different teams, including Blackburn, Livingston, Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham United, Shrewsbury Town, and Southend United. So, you know, he's been around quite a bit, and he's 50 years old. He was a centre back, so whether that has any dealings, especially with some of the mistakes that the defenders have made this season, whether that might help, you know, some experience there. But one thing that struck me in the interview on BBC Radio Lincolnshire that we were talking about earlier on was the recruitment process. By the sounds of it, was quite detailed by the Boston United board. He was saying that he had 2 interviews. The second one, he said, was about 3 or 4 hours long, just, you know, chatting away about different bits and pieces. And, you know, then he said, you know, everything sort of fitted in, the conversation flowed. I mean, it sounds like the board, you know, we sometimes do criticize the board and for one reason or another, but it sounds like they were really sort of making sure that this was the right appointment, weren't they, Stedders?
Yeah, the board, like you say, sometimes can be be criticised for some of their work, but it seems they've done their due diligence on this guy, don't it? They've really dug in deep, and they invite him back for a second interview. It'd be interesting to see how many people came back for a second interview. Word on the grapevine was over 30 applicants in there, but of course you're going to get sift through some guys that are never going to get the job. So you probably whittled it down to a short list of maybe just 2 or 3, and then invited them back for a second interview. Be interesting to hit. We'll never find out, but what made him different from the others? Do you know what I mean? There's got to be kind of something there inside of him that made him different from the other applicants and feel like they're the ones they want to invest in. He did say how very complimentary about the chairman as well, about the vision of, and of course they're all going to be when it's these first interviews. They're going to pray about stuff, aren't they? Really interesting, like you say, about the recruitment as well. What this guy's done is he's done a lot of work at youth team football. I think you mentioned Sheffield United, but he's done a lot for that. So he's going to have great contacts, I think, personally, maybe even game and some raw talent. He might even go raid Sheffield United for a few more. Because we've had them already, haven't we? And some very good ones, successful ones in that. But yeah, there must be something about this guy that made him tick the box and think, yeah, we're going to go with him this time. Like I say, albeit it's not a household name. He's not a guy that's going to all of a sudden cause a press frenzy or going to get thousands and millions of views on TikTok. He doesn't come across that kind of guy, does he? He comes across as a kind of guy already from an interview and what I've seen of him as just a hard worker, and hopefully it sounds like a good man management, a good motivator as well, which I think is what they need. I think that's probably what they've been missing in these, and that's no offence to the Bazza and Cully era. I think that's what they probably missed a little bit, a bit more management. They said they used to leave the dressing room to it before match days. I will bet my house that I'm sitting in that this guy does not do that. He will be in there and he will be telling him exactly what he wants to do. You'll see him at half time in there. He won't be sat on no bench waiting for half time to finish. He'll be in there and he'll be telling him exactly what he wants to do. I do want to mention as well, though, Damo, just a big thanks to Martin Woods as well for steadying the ship for as much as he could.
Yes.
And what he did as well. But let's just say we need him back as a player. Don't you go anywhere. Yeah. You are such a big part of this as well as the chap behind me is, because we've missed that hole in that midfield, and the likes of Jordan Richards has had to really sacrifice his position of where he's been playing because of Martin Woods not being in that role. Richards has had to drop back so deep that he can't press on and do what we know he can do well at the top end of the field. I'm hoping again Shackles can come off, because I believe Woods and even Tony Weston as well was training today as well.
Yes, I did see that actually, that Tony Weston and Martin Woods were back in training, which is great news, really, especially for to see Tony Weston back, because I'll be honest, I didn't think we were going to see him again for Boston. So that's really good news. But I mean, do you think that maybe Martin Woods again was in the frame? Do you think that he was another one that maybe applied and they were looking at, David?
It's a hard one, you know. I think the position that we're in, nothing against Martin Woods. I know he's done his coaching at Donny for a few years now, and he knows how to run a session. And we saw in the performance against Dagenham and the National League Cup game, there's positives, and he can do it. It's just, I think we needed this bit of experience. And just going back to what Tom said about the way of Cully managing and Bazza, how they used to let the dressing room talk, it self-imploded on them last season. You could see it. The players were out. The players' confidence was shot. There was nothing coming out of them effectively. They weren't working together. They weren't working as a team. It was just looked like a bunch of individuals on a pitch. And I don't think this guy, Graham Coughlan, will let that happen. There's no way. He'll be a rocket up the backside kind of manager. And I think that's what we need. We need a scrapper and we need a fighter. And I think that's what we've got in this guy.
And how do you think the players are going to react? Because, I mean, it's like, I suppose when you're in a job and a new manager comes in and they look at a new way of working with you, obviously these players have got used to the Cully way. Maybe, you know, they're used to going in the dressing room at halftime, like you say, and not being sort of having the manager come in and have words and before the games, etc. But obviously, like you say, this one, Graham, you know, Coughlan's going to come in and he's going to really sort of, you know, change the way things are. Do you think some players will have a shock through that, David?
Yeah, no, especially the young players under Culverhouse, absolutely thrived. I think we're going to see a few more experienced heads being added. Hopefully, that's what he'll demand, Coughlan, and that's what he'll want. And yeah, especially these players like Dylan Hill, who got their first breakthrough into men's football under Culverhouse. It'll be a shame to see. They've just got to react and treat it as they were and carry on as they can. You got to be grateful to Culverhouse for giving Dylan Hill a chance and exposure at this level. It's good recruitment and use of the under-23s to find him. And he's become a first-team regular ever since. But it's just how he reacts and how the rest of the young lads react. If they've not had a manager be sacked before in front of their eyes, it's given a chance in them. We're just going to have to see how he uses them. But it is better to see that also Coughlan has that youthful, I don't know, like he's focusing on the youth, especially with that Sheffield United under-23s time. You can see that he also takes care with the youth, which sort of fits the mould as well. I think he sort of does it all. When you're looking at relegation survivalists like Ardley, people like that, they sometimes seem to forget the youth and they always aim for more experienced heads. But I think that may be the key. The little difference between Coughlan is it's probably a bit more long-term of an appointment than Ardley was, but it's still not long-term, like years ahead of the future, maybe 1 to 2 years. It's nice to know that you can use the young players, but it's just how they react to a new manager coming in. But I'm sure they'll all be chomping at the bit to play on Saturday against Braintree in a big relegation 6-pointer, which should be a great game, by the way. It's probably going to be one of the better games we're going to see at the Jagemans this season because we're not going to get smashed. But who knows? Who knows? That's from this season so far, but it could be totally different from now onwards.
Stedders, what do you think?
Yeah, similar to David, like you say, will the players react the way he wants them to react? Will they buy into his philosophy? Will he bring that magic wand that he says that he hasn't got? We are hoping for his yes to all of them, aren't we? Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Really interesting to see how he assesses the current squad. And I will use the term deadwood because there is some of that around, unfortunately, isn't there? Players just not doing what they're supposed to be doing for their money they're getting paid. We've got some big earners there at the minute, sat on some nice fat contracts, probably not worthy of what we're paying them at the minute. And again, I'll say it, this guy behind me doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to take half a job, is he? He's going to want you all there and all there firing. And if you're not doing the job, again, I don't think he's the kind of guy to tell you any different. And he said that, again, we'll go back to the radio interview, honesty. The one thing he said about the whole thing was honesty. If you're honest, you'll get so much more out of him. And he's going to be honest with every single one of them players, isn't he? I mean, we could look back at that Woking game. Let's just go back a little few days there. I was actually there in person for it. We'll talk a little bit about it, but the goalkeeper made an absolute, to me, it was a goalkeeper mistake that led to the goal. It wasn't great defending, we all know that, but we haven't defended well all season. But again, how much are we missing Cameron Gregory, our number one at the minute? Is he going to look to bring in another goalkeeper? Is he going to look to try and steady that back line a bit more and bring him some more experience in that centre half role? You can't tell me this guy doesn't know any centre halves playing that many games there. He knows playing. Trust me, he's probably on the blower now as we are recording this, trying to get somebody down for the weekend. We don't know. We would love to know. But yeah, is he going to try and bolster that defence? Because that's exactly like you say. We're not leaking loads of goals at the minute, though, but we're just not scoring enough, are we?
No, that's it. And you mentioned Deadwood. Can you name any of the Deadwood?
Well,
make it controversial. Come on.
I mean, again, people listening are going to have their own opinions on it. But David touched on two to me already that need to be looked at under a microscope. Are they giving their all for everything? They're not getting enough minutes. I will hold my hands up. Granted, they're not getting enough minutes to play. Of course, they're not. But the squad is just not what it's meant to be, is it? To me, it's a National League North squad currently playing in the National League. And anybody can tell me anything different. You're welcome to your opinions on that. But this is what we are playing with. This is the hand of cards we are dealing with. What we're looking for now is, like David said, we're looking for warriors. We're looking for guys who'll run through brick walls. We're looking for guys that are willing to try and push themselves out of that National League North fit into this National League and just get enough this is, I mean, some people might even think like this is like a you know, what do they call it when you know, like stopping a leak, but like, you know what I mean, you're wrapping something around it to temporarily stop the leak, to stop the flood. This could be that kind of appointment just to try and get us through this season. Who knows? But again, at the end of the season, will we care if we stay up? Of course we won't. It'll be a fantastic appointment, and if it all goes wrong, they'll want to turn around and say, why didn't they employ X, Y, Z? So, you know, it's the highs and lows of being football manager. But there's definitely some people on some contracts that I think that he'll be looking at, probably scratching his head already and thinking, what can we do with these guys to try and get them replaced and bring in what he needs? Because, of course, with himself, again, questions about his backroom staff. Who's he going to bring in about that? We don't know exactly about that. Nothing's been announced about that yet. And players, he's going to have players in mind. You can't tell me he ain't got a list of 8 or 10 players in front of him now, and mulling over what he wants to do, is he? He's got his plans. Don't you worry.
I think, like you say, as soon as the chairman sort of offered him the position, which I know he started today, but I don't think, obviously, he wasn't offered it today. He would have probably had a few days, and apparently he was at the Dagenham and Redbridge game. So, like you say, he knows what he's dealing with. He's seen them play. He's seen what they've got there. Like you say, you know, that's a couple of weeks ago now. He knows, you know, the sort of players he probably already wants. And yeah, I think the next few weeks are going to be quite interesting to see, you know, who he brings in. I mean, we've got a few games now that, you know, are winnable games, you know, and games that we should be winning, and we probably look on paper and at the beginning of the season and thought to ourselves, yep, they're the games that we need to win. I mean, we've already said that. We've already had games already this season that we said that, and we didn't. But I mean, this Saturday is. I mean, he said on his interview, didn't he, that he not necessarily. You mentioned earlier about the magic wand. He said today, you know, he hasn't got a magic wand. You know, he can't. You know, he wants everyone behind him on Saturday, but he can't. Obviously, he can't guarantee the win, and if they don't, they move on to the next one. But Saturday is a must-win, isn't it? We just can't look at losing. David.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a very big one at that southern end.
It's like a 9-pointer, isn't it?
Yeah, effectively, we need the points now more than ever. Like you say, it's not going to be an instant impact, but if we could get the ball rolling now with a nice little home win against Braintree, nice little home win. I'm treating it like it's nothing. Culverhouse's management team still hasn't got a win in the league, and they failed to do that since Peterborough Sports last March, I believe. So yeah, it's not going to be an easy task, and Braintree are a good side with some vast DFL experience. In F Young played National League for a long time. John Akinde used to play for Lincoln City.
Yes.
They play very direct football, and we just have to stand up to it. But this will be a chance for him to see what his players are like on the day under his management and see how they react. But it will also be nice to see the players stand up against a team that they should effectively be challenging against at this point in time. It's nice to see the reaction, see who's really up for the scrap and who's up for the fight at that bottom end of the table. But no, it is an absolute 9-pointer, as Damo said, and we need the points now more than ever because we're starting to get cut adrift. It's just us and Ebbsfleet. Obviously, we've got the 24th and 23rd derby in a few weeks' time. I'll be attending that, and I'm sure there's loads of other pilgrims heading down to Ebbsfleet. But let's get behind the boys on Saturday, create an atmosphere at the JCS, and yeah, let's try and get these first 3 points at home in the league. I forgot the National League Cup, but I don't think anybody cares about
that. No. Stedders, how do you think for Saturday? How are you feeling about it?
Well, it's interesting. I've been reading some more comments on X and Twitter that Coughlan likes to actually play with 5 at the back. So we might see a formation change. So you might actually see a formation change here with high pressing. He loves the press on the ball. So you know, we're going to have some energy, aren't we, inside there? If that's interesting, if that's the case, that who starts in them back 5 positions, isn't it? You know, because then you're looking at 3 centre-halves instead of your natural 2. It's been Mills and Bostwick all the way through this season, isn't it, really? Do you then bring Leake into the equation and play them 3 at the back? That's possibly he might be looking at. I don't know. There's arguments that Zach Mills could play just in front of the defence. Is Zach Mills even a centre-half? We don't know, but that's what he's playing recently. But is that his preferred position? I'm not entirely sure it is, but again, Coughlan will have his ideas with him as well, and thoughts and kind of like formations and ways he wants to set up this team to make us hard to beat as much as it is. And then to obviously the main thing we need clinical. We need clinical guys at the top of the pitch. We're missing a guy at the minute as well. I think we're missing that one person who can put that killer pass through. That one person who can give us a little bit of magic in the middle of that midfield. We've not had that from anybody this season. Put it on a plate for them guys at the front who haven't been firing on all cylinders, unfortunately for us. But I think we're missing that kind of, like you say, that it was Keaton Ward last season, wasn't it? He was the guy,
Yes.
wasn't he? He set up quite a lot of goals last season. But then again, you had Moody and Knowles. Where are they when you need them? So, yeah, it's very interesting. I'm very interested about this game on Saturday because, like you say, Braintree have got some very experienced players inside their ranks. They're not going to be no mugs, and we know this. We haven't won a home yet this season, but I'm thinking that new management boost, an attendance boost to match as well, and hopefully that crowd will be treated to a 3 points to the Pilgrims, which we so desperately need at home.
Definitely, we really do. And I'm just gonna go back to the end of the game last week. Obviously went 1-0. We lost 1-0 at Woking, and I think the reaction from most fans, I would say, a majority of fans, especially on social media, was, well, that's it. That's it now. I think we're 8 points from safety, I believe. Is it around 8 points? And it's an uphill struggle now. That is not an easy target to build up. And I think most people are kind of saying, right, just enjoy the football now this season, and we're going to be going back down to the National League North. I mean, do you think that? I mean, for you guys, start with you first, David. Has that changed? Has the feeling changed, or did you not have that feeling after Saturday?
I don't know. It's a big gap. It is a big gap, and I can see people. I can see why people think that way. It's going to take a lot, but they're going to try, and they're going to try all they can to try and keep us in this division. And if we go down, we go back down. You just got to enjoy the ride, and I think we have been enjoying the ride so far. The supporters this season have been absolutely immense, home and away. Barnet was amazing, an amazing day. We got absolutely spanked by top of the league Barnet. But it was a great day out, and the atmosphere that day was incredible. I can name a few more, but I won't because there's too many to name. York was impeccable as well. We just got to enjoy the ride. If it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off, and we rebuild next year in the National League North. But it'd do us well to stay up in this division. I did have that feeling like it's getting harder and harder now, but we can't get cut any more adrift, or else it's just going to be us inevitably fighting for scraps at the bottom whilst everybody else competes. And it's fair to say we haven't been competing in this division this year so far, but we hope to change that on Saturday. And here we go again.
And Stedders, you were down at the Woking game. I mean, how was the feeling coming back on the coach after that defeat?
We played really well up to the goal, Damo, to be honest with you. We played some lovely football. Just it's that thing again, isn't it? We weren't making enough chances. Their goalkeeper didn't make a save, I don't think, throughout most of the game. Which again, if you don't do that, you're never going to win games. The frightening part for me, Damo, is that we got out-bullied again and out-fought and out-muscled. We seem like a bit of a lightweight side. I don't know what your guys' views are on this, but a little bit light in terms of big presence dudes. Do you know what I mean? Some guys who just stand their ground. We'll try and link some back a few players as well. LeBron and Becker, who used to play for us, who now it was Spennymoor and now gone back down to Guiseley again. We're missing that kind of guy because he was unorthodoxly brilliant, wasn't he? You know what I mean? He was a no-nonsense guy, but he made things look so easy. But like I say, we're just getting out-muscled and out-fought and out-bullied. That was the word for Saturday, which is a real shame, to be honest with you. Because like I say, we played really well up to that goal. And then it became a bit of a scrap. And Woking love a scrap, don't they? Because they play long ball, direct football anyway. There was hooking things clear. Nothing was ever pure off the thing. They committed so many cynical fouls. It was unbelievable to get bookings. I think 7 of their players ended up with bookings at the end of the game or something ridiculous like that. So they knew exactly what they're doing. But we just get out-bullied. So we are going to need some proper trenches, men. I love that phrase, by the way. We need some guys that are going to come and going to want to fight and scrap for every single point that's on our offer for us from now on in, because we're going to need obviously so many more now with that points gap in there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if the mentality of the players is different for Saturday as much as it is the formation.
Yeah, of course. And I did see the game on National League television on Saturday. I did manage to watch it. And one thing I noticed, which, to be honest, I've noticed at a lot of games this season, but you're saying, and it's probably a good way of putting it, that Boston are being kind of bullied off the ball and whatever. But I mean, a lot of players, like the Woking players on Saturday, were just going down for no reason at all. And that's happened in so many games this season. I mean, is it just the National League way? Because, and Boston just haven't obviously been in that way, and obviously just getting punished all the time. I mean, is that something you've noticed, Stedders?
I think we're probably showing, the word is naivety. I think we're a bit naive at this level, aren't we? Which is going to be, that's going to happen, isn't it, when you haven't been in here for so long? We're showing a bit of naivety, you know what I mean? And some of these other players know how to play the system. They were brilliant at it on Saturday. As frustrated as we were, they were fantastic. They knew exactly what they were doing. Different management, in cynical fouls, going around the team. Each one did it. You could see what was happening. Time wasting, going down. We honestly, you could throw them all of the adjectives at it from Saturday, because that's exactly how they play. But they're good at it. This is the reason why they stay at this level. They're streetwise, and that is one thing we've not. We have not been streetwise. A streetwise Boston kicks that ball out at Tamworth when Jacob Hazel's at the far end of the pitch, kicks that ball out for a throw-in rather than a goal kick, because the goal kick came straight back over and they go and score. A streetwise Boston doesn't, again, sorry, Jacob, we're going to mention them again, doesn't give a penalty away in the last minute away. A streetwise Boston sees out them 2 games. I think, again, broken record fact time, but I think we're now up to nearly, I think it's like 18 points, which we've lost from winning positions this season. That's not a streetwise team at this level. That's a team that's showing their naivety, unfortunately, at this level. And we think we're a little bit naive at this level. And again, it's so raw to us, isn't it? We're not used to going to these grounds and playing these things. We've got Oldham a week today. Bloody Oldham. When was it? We're not used to this. We're used to going to play Peterborough Sport on a Tuesday night, aren't we? Or going to Brackley and doing that on a Tuesday night with no fans. We're not used to this, so it's new to us. But we've really got to learn quickly. And I think, like I say, streetwise, be a bit more streetwise. That's the word. Look at what other teams are doing around us and what's working, and take a little bit from each of them. That's what Boston need to do now. And hopefully they can start that, like you say, on Saturday, and just be a bit, like I say, just be a bit more streetwise to the league and figure out how to work teams out.
Absolutely. And David, do you have that opinion?
Yeah, you mentioned streetwise. It's probably been that's another thing with the youth and the naivety of the way that they recruited last year. I'll say it again, it's self-imploded effectively. And that's the reason why we don't have enough experience to probably keep us up in this division at the moment. And we need people who know how to come in and just give a boost to the squad. And just in those games where it's topsy-turvy and we're lumping the ball up the pitch from half to half to half to half, and it's just counter-attack after counter-attack after counter-attack. We need some cool, experienced heads in there. And if we can get those in, maybe the tide will turn. Maybe it won't. I don't know, because I'm not a football manager. But Graham Coughlan is, and he's been in these situations before where he's come into clubs that need points, and he can hopefully do it here again at Boston United. The mentality has to change. We have to pick up points now off everybody around us. You look at the style of football that we're going to play. I believe is going to be quite direct, like Paul Cox direct. So we're going to need some big lads to come in to try and win the ball, and a bit of experience will be coming in to support that. But no, the mentality has to change. We have to do everything we can to beat the teams in and around us. Doesn't matter if Oldham beat us effectively, because they're pushing for top 6. We need to beat the teams around us. If we beat the teams around us, we stay up. But the mentality has to shift. We are not a National League North team playing in the National League. We are a National League team. We deserve to be here. We beat Scunthorpe, Brackley and Alfreton in the playoffs last year. We deserve to be here. If we're only here for 1 year and we go back to the National North, so be it. But we're here for a year and we just need to try and make the most of it.
Yeah, here for that one. I just want to look back. Did anyone go to the Sunderland game? He did go to the Sunderland game. He did. So you actually saw the one win of the season. Because, I mean, obviously, maybe surprisingly, I'm not sure. I know in that cup you have to play a certain amount of players. But obviously he picked his Martin Woods, obviously in charge at the time, picked the first team. I mean, how do you think, I mean, with the new manager coming in, you've obviously, you've seen the last, especially Stedders has seen the last 3 games, the Sunderland win, the Dagenham and Redbridge draw, and the Woking defeat. What players do you think that Graham Coughlan will be looking, what sort of the team, what players do you think he might have to change or might have to stick in? Do you see, like, I mean, obviously Jacob Hazel the last few games, hasn't been in best form, to be fair. Do you think he's a player though that Coughlan will stick with, Stedders?
I'm not entirely sure is the answer to you, because I don't know what he thinks of him, or has he even seen him play himself? I'm not too sure. This is the questions that we all need answering, aren't there? He probably actually is a Coughlan kind of player, if I'm honest, because he's a bit he lives life a little bit on the edge, doesn't he, old Jacob, doesn't he? So
that's true.
You might find he fits the thing perfectly. Yes, Jacob Hazel's not had the best few games for Boston over the last few games, but nobody around him has either, have they? Let's be honest. It's been as bad as he has been. The team's been just as bad. So, the interesting one was on Saturday as well, was Sam Osborne, because he came on off the bench, didn't he? I think he deserved to start on Saturday, just gone, to be honest with you. I would be surprised to see him start this Saturday, because I think he could be that, like I mentioned earlier, that little bit of spark that we might require. I think he's got the tools in his locker. He definitely looks like somebody who could provide us with assists and looks exciting going forward up the field. So I hope he gets more of a chance. Will Pemi Aderoju come in? Is he more likely a Coughlan player? He could well be. Again, like you say, a big guy to hold it up for us. Again, will Coughlan go out and try and find somebody else to lead the line out there? All questions we really won't know the answer until he's had a few training sessions and games under his belt and sees what he's at. But yeah, there's certain areas I think we can all agree on where we need to strengthen. And like you say, personally, I'll be looking at a goalkeeper. I'm sorry, Mr. Stone, if you're watching, but personally, I would be looking at to bring in another keeper for me, because it's such an vital and important part of your team, isn't it? Your spine, and it just hasn't been the same since Cameron Gregory got injured at all, has it? And as good as Stone has been for coming in and that lot, I've just not been too impressed considering the background that he's had. I don't know about you guys. What do you think, David?
I'll just say it's a bit controversial, that, really, because the defence that he's playing in front of him, Mills, Boswick, Green, Rowe, Coates, whoever, have not been good enough. So I don't know if it's fair to blame Stone. Really, yes, he probably should have caught the ball on Saturday. We were having this conversation the other day with Stone going up for that punch on Saturday. If he runs into the player, if he jumps into the player, he does anything to that player, most likely we're going to get a foul and a free kick, because the referees favour goalkeepers all the time. We know that. And we've seen it before with the likes of the Scunthorpe goalkeeper and the Alfreton goalkeeper, Willis, in the playoffs, jumping on that ball line around forever. They always favour the goalkeeper. So maybe that's just a lack of game time that Stone's been experiencing over the past few years. Went into Notts County as number one, or tried to be as their number one, but ended up getting pushed to the side. And he's sort of been a number two until he's come to Boston United. He's just been allowed to step into a first team competitive environment. But he's sort of just come into a pretty dire situation. You know, we missed Cameron Gregory, so I don't know if it's really fair to blame Stone that much. You know, I know what he's saying about it. He never played a game in the National League or non-league before playing for Boston United. He played for was it Shrewsbury and Notts County and people like that. He's been around, and Port Vale. He's done time in the EFL, but I can see what he's saying. I was expecting a little bit more from him, but I don't think it's all that fair to blame him, to be perfectly honest with you, with the defence and the team that he's got in front of him.
We can always pick holes in all of them, can't we, at the minute? Because, like you say, nobody's playing well, are they? I mean, you mentioned Jacob Hazel and the top end of the field as much as you did the back end of the field, but we could go through 1 to 11 at the minute, maybe 1 to 15, and all give critiques for every single one of them. The bottom line is they haven't performed as a team, and that is the point. The team. They haven't fought for each other as a team. They haven't played together well as a team many times this season. And that's the long and short of it. And this is, again, I'd hate to sound negative on these things, because I think those three are very positive guys in general and positive outlooks on Boston United. But what he needs to do, Coughlan, is erase all that negativity. Any negativity he finds around that club at the minute, within the players or the staff or any of the surroundings, first thing you need to do is say, we aren't having any of that, because as soon as you install it, it's hard to get rid of it. It's really, really difficult to get rid of it. So yeah, he'll be certainly pinpointing a few players, maybe like you say, to go out and probably replace. But yeah, we could, like I said, we could sit here all night and pinpoint every single one of them players and say, yeah, he hasn't been very good this season, because Cameron Green's probably been one of our shining lights for the season, I think. And I think David agrees with me on this one a little bit. That he's probably been one of the only few that I can think of that has been, you know what I mean, we could say he's been a positive signing.
Yeah, I'd have to agree on that one. I've liked Cameron Green all season. Actually, I think he's done quite well when he's been on the pitch, and you know he has come off the bench a few times as well, which was quite surprising, to be fair, when he was put on the bench, because I always thought he should be a straight starter from the beginning of the season. So have to agree on that one. I mean, do you think this Saturday? Do you think we might see Martin Woods back in the starting 11?
It's a possibility. You know, we mentioned in the interviews that he was training himself back up to fitness. That's 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and I think he may be ready. You know, if he's needed, he'll be ready to call upon. And like Tom said earlier, that's what we need at the moment. I love a good Martin Woods on this day. Whoa, a few games in that National League North season. Yes, it's a different division, but he absolutely controls the park. Even at the right page of he's bordering 40, 39, I think he is.
Nothing wrong with that, David.
I've got you on my side. But yeah, it didn't stop him, did it? Honestly, some of those days he was absolutely impeccable. He was one of our better players when he played and when he's up to fitness. But we discussed this at the start of the season. How many games do we get out of him? At the moment, we probably had 2 or 3. It's not good when he plays, and when he's in form, he's a good player, and he might come back to try and assist in this, try and help Coughlan settle in, and maybe try and show some of the younger lads a range of how to play in a direct side and not be exposed to nice passing football, and just be a bit more scrappier, because we all know Woods is a fighter, and I'd like to see that again on Saturday.
And another thing that we've spoken about on previous podcasts, and we've spoken about the team and the pressure on the team winning at home, and how the fans obviously kind of on their back, wanting to get that victory. Obviously, now leading up to Christmas, we've got one home league game left before Christmas. Being this Saturday with Braintree at home. So there's going to be quite a few away games coming up in the next month, bar the Alvechurch game in the trophy. But do you think that's going to help with the pressure? Do you think they'll go to these teams, or do you think that will be different now with the new manager in? Stedders.
Yeah, I'm interested really. Like you say, different Are they going to approach games differently now? I don't know. But I think David mentioned it. The fans have been fantastic so far this season, and I expect nothing different again. I mean, Martin Woods had a great, that Dagenham game. The fans were up for it, weren't they? They were well up for that game, weren't they? You could see they wanted something out of that game. Couldn't you? And it was a good attendance. I think 2,000 and just over, wasn't it? I think was a very attendance for the game, to be honest with you. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get near to that on Saturday, to be honest with you, especially with a new manager coming in, seeing how his playing style is, and how it goes. I'm interested to know your thoughts, actually, gents, on who do you think would adapt well to his playing style. If he's going to play a bit more direct, is there any players that you can think of that will adapt well to that playing style, and some maybe that might struggle?
Well, your natural, what you think of when you go direct is he's probably going to play two up top. It's probably going to be, what is it, a 3-5-2 he's best known as. So the wing backs are going to get a lot of joy. This is Green's, Coates' Rowe's. Rowe might play in the back line in a 3 as well. He can also do that. But this is their guys' time to shine, effectively. They're going to be up and down the pitch. And I know that he's very well known for using his fullbacks in attack. So it's probably going to stop us, and it's going to annex the wingers off. People like Dan Mooney probably aren't going to get a look in, and it might be the end. Billy Chadwick, interesting to know what happens to him. Sorry, he's on a month loan, but he can play striker. I don't think Dan Mooney's a striker. I don't know if he's a 10 either, to be perfectly honest with you. He likes to cut inside. He's definitely a right winger. Likes to get the ball on his left foot and shoot towards goal. But you never know, he might adapt. Players that I think will thrive as well. I'm backing Pemi Aderoju for this one, to be perfectly. He's a big lad and he can try and win the balls. At the start of his loan spell, he looked like the only player in the world to go smaller as he jumped towards the ball. But now he's actually winning headers and he's winning flick-ons. He's passing it off to Jacob Hazel. Hazel isn't a target man. By his size, you'd think he would be, but Hazel isn't a target man, and Aderoju is more of a target man than Hazel is. If you just flick it off to the runners around him, which I imagine that's what he'll be doing on Saturday, I wouldn't be surprised if Aderoju starts on Saturday. And we'll just have to see who sits in the 10 behind. Maybe Osborne, maybe Maguire. Maguire hasn't played that far up, but he's been playing left mid or left wing under Martin Woods, so he might sit back further in midfield. Who knows what's going to happen? But no, those are just a few of my thoughts on who's going to thrive. And I think the wingers might struggle to play under Coughlan, because I don't think there'll be any room for them, because the fullbacks will just take up their space on the pitch. But I guess it gives you a bit more solidity rather than the 4. You've got the 5 at the back, the 3 central centre backs, and then obviously the 2 that can come back in support. So where we've been struggling to try and clear the ball away from the edge of the area, it's just nice to see that hopefully we're probably going to have that extra man to try and get the ball away. And it's just what we need. We need defensive solidity. Attackers win games and good defenses win championships. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned Hazel earlier, and I never thought, and maybe he is the type of player, that he might work well under him, under new management. It'd be interesting to see how he does. I think I agree with you about Pemi for sure. I think he'll work really well under the new management, and it'd be interesting to see what happens with Billy Chadwick. To be fair, I mean, he's played well, I think, in the first 2 games. I don't know what you guys think. Obviously, he's only here for a month at the moment. But I remember reading from the York City fans after he came to us on loan, and most of them sort of wishing him well and saying that they hope it's not the last time they see him in a York shirt, but they've got a feeling it might be. So be interesting to see what happens with him. If it fits in, will he sign permanently for Boston? That's another question I think that we've got to look at. Stedders, what do you think?
Yeah, if we get him firing, we all know what he can do, can't we? Like you say, I'm not going to say he single-handedly kept us up, but he certainly made a very, very good contribution. 11 goals in 20 games, wasn't it? Something like that, wasn't it?
That's right.
So if we can get his shooting boots going, absolutely. He just kept getting fouled on Saturday. That's the reason why he couldn't really do a lot, to be honest. If you just poleaxed him, every broke past their defensive line, they just hacked him down. There's a particularly bad one at the end of the first half, actually. I don't know if you saw that, Damo. It looked like it was actually studs up from where we were looking. It was
it did, actually.
And if you ever created an orange card in football. That was it, between yellow and red. But yeah, if we can get Chadwick firing again, he's got goals inside of him. It's all about now who is gonna, again, we're gonna say it again, step up to the line, and who's gonna want to fight for us, and who's gonna want to keep this team in this National League. It's all about wanting and desire. That's probably the word of the day, isn't it? Who's going to want the desire to get us to where we need to be? But yeah, very interesting, very, very interesting few days ahead for Boston United fans, isn't it? We could have a completely different starting 11 come Saturday morning before we know. But we might have exactly the same, and just he might say, look, go and express yourself. You show me what you can do. Do you know what I mean? He might throw him out to the Braintree and say, go on, then go and play against them lot. May change, like David said, I think it's going to be a little bit more direct football, folks. So, don't expect too much.
Bring your neck braces.
Yeah, don't expect too much 88-minute pass it along your back line kind of stuff. I think it's going to be a bit more than that, that's for sure. But if it gives results, do we really care?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're now in the position, we just need the points, don't we? It doesn't matter how we play now. We just need to get the 3 points, and that's it. I mean, the next few games, just having a look here, obviously Saturday, home to Braintree. Then next Tuesday, we're away at Oldham Athletic, which isn't going to be the easiest of games, but, they're obviously going for promotion. And then obviously on the Saturday the 30th, away at Ebbsfleet United. So, before 2 tough games in December, away at Forest Green Rovers and then away at Rochdale. So,
not much football in December, though, gents, really, isn't it? We've got a bit of a gap in there somewhere.
We do.
For December,
usually the 7th of December, we've got Alverchurch, haven't we, in the FA Trophy at home. So, so
there is a little bit of a lull in fixtures come December time, though. It'd be interesting to see if he maybe sticks with what he's got until that point and look to recruit then. I don't know. He might look for a natural gap like that, or again, he might just have exactly who he wants on speed dial on his phone, waiting, saying Boston United signing number 1, and tomorrow morning we'll have him pictured with a shirt out on the pitch. We don't know, do we? We really don't know, do we? But
that's more likely to be Friday lunchtime.
Yeah, this is at a car park somewhere like we used to do it. That was brilliant, wasn't it? But this is all part of football and opinions, isn't it? Because what we've just said for the last 40 minutes might be completely and utterly wrong, and this is a great part about it, the fact that we don't actually know, and we're just predicting, folks. And again, it's interesting to know what all our listeners and viewers feel.
Yeah,
we say, are we talking complete drivel, or are we actually got something going on here? We don't know, but we'll just keep entertaining whilst we do it.
Of course, and once Saturday comes and we see the team, and by 4:45 on Saturday afternoon, we'll have a bit more of an idea what to expect. But I have got one more question that I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to start with you, Stedders. Can Boston stay up with this appointment?
Yes. One thing apart, there's another. I predicted 18th, and we'll go back to our predictor tables for a second. I predicted 18th. It might be a bit off now, to be honest with you. Might be a little bit lower than that, unfortunately, for Boston United. Can they? Of course they can. Can they do it? Yes, of course they can do it. But it's up to them, isn't it? It's all up to them. How much do they want to fight for it? We say it again. How much do they want to do it? As a set of players, do they want to stay in this National League? We've waited so long as fans for this time to come, and David said we need to embrace it now and enjoy these trips away to Oldham and things like that. But at the same time, we do need points as well. So it'd be great to combine the two and, like you say, just finish it out. I don't want a last day drama thing. Don't give me that again. I don't want that.
No.
We've been through that. That Wrexham away day was heartbreaking, to be honest with you. That day was awful. And we've had playoff heartache, and now we've had playoff ecstasy. Let's have a nice steady stay up the week before the end of the season, and I'll be fine. But can they do it? Of course they can. Of course they can. Of course they can. They've got the pedigree to play at this level. They've earned, like David said, they have earned the right. Again, I'm just worried about the squad depth. That's probably my one issue. Again, if we get any more injuries, we're absolutely snookered. So the squad depth is something that needs looking at. and the quality, and probably some more National League players. That is what we need.
And I understand there is money available from David Newton, so hopefully we can he'll use that wisely and bring some more players in. Fingers crossed, touch wood. So, David, same question to you. Do you think that he can keep Boston United up?
It's a good appointment on paper. I said this before. It's a good appointment. It's up to the players now, isn't it? It's time to stand up and be counted. Do you want to stay in this division, or do you want to go back to the regional leagues, playing people like Peterborough Sports away? I know I don't, and the fan base don't. So it's time for them to grow a pair and stand up and try and fight and try and do everything because I think that's what Coughlan will do. He will encourage a fight, and it will be a scrap every week. They'll be fighting for every ball, every retention of the ball, anything. It will be a fight. And that's what I want to see. I want to see fighting. There's been a few games where it looks a bit pedestrian. I want to see a fight. And if I see a fight and we go down fighting, I'll still be proud of what we've done this year. But I can see us staying up, but I can also see us going down, it going quite wrong pretty quickly if he doesn't get these first few wins together. We're just cut adrift already. So if he can't make improvements quickly, it can go sour pretty quick.
I think I'm going to stick to my predictor table. I said 20th. I'm hoping, that that's what's going to happen by the end of the season. We're nearly halfway through the season now. So yeah, I'm gonna stick to that. Second half of the season's going to be a good one. Right. Well, thank you very much, guys. As I say, we'll see Saturday how we get on with Braintree, and for the next podcast, we'll know a lot more of what we're dealing with the new manager. If you do want to listen and subscribe, we are on Spotify, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Music, and YouTube. You can find us on there. We've got a page on Facebook as well. So, yeah, just subscribe to all the pages. Leave your thoughts as well of what you think of the podcast and what you think about what we've spoken about today. Like Stedders said earlier, are we talking a lot of drivel, or are we actually talking some sense? So, be interesting to find out. So, David. And to Stedders, I think we've lost David for a minute, or he's still about.
I'm still here. Don't you worry.
Oh, he's still there.
Oh, he's still there. He's still there. Right. Well, thanks very much, guys. And we'll catch you again very soon on another edition of Up the Pilgrims.
Up the Pilgrims.